I'm sure you are not strange to the concept of straight lines. You can easily distinguish straight lines from curvy lines. The next step for us is to discuss the equations of these lines and learn of their gradients. Now, just as we learned in a previous lesson, straight lines are of the form y equal to mx plus c. In this formula, x and y represent specific numbers that may be represented on the horizontal and vertical lines of a graph. M is the gradient or slope of the graph. The value of m may be positive or negative. When the value of m is positive, it indicates that the graph increases from the left to the right, that is, it slopes upwards. Conversely, when the value of m is negative, it indicates that the graph increases from the right to the left, that is, it slopes downwards. To ensure that you remember, think of it this way. A positive slope can be likened to ascending a flight of stairs, while a negative slope can be likened to descending a flight of stairs. To complete our analysis of the straight line equation, C signifies the intercept of the straight line on the y-axis. For example, in the graph represented here, since the straight line cuts the y-axis at y equal to 2, the intercept C is 2. Now, let's learn how to determine the slope or gradient of a straight line. To do this, we first select any 2 points on the straight line and label them points 1 and 2. Secondly, we obtain the x and y coordinates of both points and label them appropriately. The last course of action is to employ the formula gradient m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now, let's determine the gradient of the line represented in this straight line graph. If we select 2 points and trace them out, we obtain x1 to be 1, y1 to be 5, x2 to be 3, and y2 to be 9. Plugging these values into the formula given earlier, we can see that the gradient of the line should be equal to 9 minus 5 all over 3 minus 1. On further simplification, we obtain the slope of the graph to be 2. Meanwhile, from the displayed graph, you will agree with me that the intercept is 3 because the straight line cuts the y-axis at the point where y equals 3. Now, knowing that the slope of this graph is 2 and its y-intercept is 3, we can say for a fact that the equation for this graph is y equal to 2x plus 3. Before we conclude, it is important to mention that the slope of a graph can also be given as the tangent of theta, where theta is the angle formed between the graph and the x-axis. So, in the graph we examined earlier, the angle here can be represented as theta and can be determined. Since we know that tan theta is equal to m, and we determined m to be 2, we can obtain the angle theta by finding the tan inverse of 2. On evaluating this, we get the value of theta to be 63.4 degrees. In summary, a diagrammatic representation of the key lines, angles, and axes to note when representing a straight line can be seen here. That will be all for this lesson. I'll see you soon.